In this video, I'm going to discuss the best combinations of gadgets, skills, and powers in 2018's PS4 exclusive Spider-Man. Add these overpowered combos to your game and you'll be webbing more bad guys than you can shake a quip at. Keep in mind that these strategies will severely diminish the challenge of the game. Maybe it goes without saying, but if they make things too easy and the game gets boring, just stop using them. Number 6. Charge Jump and Ground Strike with Epicenter. These are both moves that probably don't get a whole lot of use, and you probably won't even bother to unlock them until fairly late in the game, but when you combine them, they make a very powerful combo. Just charge your jump for a second and release, and you'll go shooting up into the sky. Press square and X and you'll web yourself back down to the ground, shaking the ground and creating a shockwave that sends nearby enemies flying backwards. This move is effective against any non-boss enemy, including brutes. You can follow it up with a web bomb to eliminate enemies you've knocked down if you like, webbing them to the ground. Or start with the web bomb and then ground strike into the middle of the group. Most of your enemies will end up webbed to the walls nearby. You do have to be careful because sometimes enemies will toss a grenade at you and it will land underneath you while you're up in the air. You may not realize it's down there and ground strike right into the blast radius. Be aware of what's underneath you and keep an eye out for grenades. You can wait up in the air until the blast is finished or simply move away from the area to avoid the blast. This move really shines when fighting on rooftops, as your shockwave will send enemies flying off the roof for instant KOs. Don't worry, Spidey's attached trip mines to the enemies and they'll get caught and webbed safely to the side of the building before they hit the ground. Most of the time. Keep in mind this is an outdoor-only combination. You won't be able to use this move indoors as you can't jump high enough to get the shockwave effect from Epicenter indoors. Number 5. Electric Webs and Web Throw. Web Throw lets you grab a webbed-up enemy with your webs and swing him around and toss him at his allies. What you may not realize is that you can also throw enemies who have been shocked by electric webs and other electric hazards. But the great thing is, any other enemy hit or even coming close to being hit by this enemy will also be shocked. Since you swing the enemy around before you throw him, you're guaranteed to shock every enemy nearby, as well as enemies far away that get hit by your flying foe.
Positive ID on Spider-Man. Fire at will.
The shock effect stuns enemies for around 7 seconds and does a considerable amount of damage in addition to the damage from the web throw collision. Keep in mind that you only get the 7-second duration of the original shock web. Each shocked enemy doesn't start with a full 7-second duration. Once the duration of the original shock expires, all the enemies will recover. If you shock an enemy and then throw him into another enemy 5 seconds later, the second enemy will only be shocked for 2 seconds before recovering. This combination works on any normal goon, assuming you have the appropriate skills unlocked to be able to web throw a brute. This is particularly effective against Sable agents, as the shock effect and collisions will destroy their web-proof armor, leaving them vulnerable to your other attacks.
Stay clear.
More. You know, this would be way more fun if you guys made pew-pew noises.
Number 4. Web Blossom and Webbed Striker. The first two suit abilities you get are two of the best in the game. Battle Focus gives you about 2.5 bars of focus over 15 seconds as you quickly build focus with no need to attack enemies. Web Blossom shoots webs in all directions, webbing every enemy nearby and often incapacitating them by webbing them to walls and objects around you. Both are fantastic abilities, but add the Web Striker suit mod to your suit and Web Blossom becomes even more powerful, easily outpacing Battle Focus. Web Striker massively increases the amount of focus you get when you web up enemies. Just a handful of enemies hit with Web Blossom will instantly fill your focus meter all the way. 3 full bars of focus instantly in addition to all those webbed goons. You'll get more focus than with Battle Focus, and while the two abilities have the same 90-second cooldown, the instant duration of Web Blossom means you don't have to wait 15 seconds for the duration to expire before the cooldown starts, meaning you can use the move slightly more often. Be careful, as the spinning animation for Web Blossom leaves you exposed, unable to dodge, and extremely vulnerable to ranged attackers.
Welcome to the air show.
It's recommended that you equip the Threat Sensor Suit mod to slow down time after a perfect dodge, and time out and use a perfect dodge before activating Web Blossom to give you a few seconds where you're not going to get shot while using the ability. Number 3, Web Bomb and Concussion Blast. This one's fairly obvious, and if you don't figure it out yourself, Screwball will force you to use this combination in one of her gadget trials during the Turf Wars DLC. Toss a Web Bomb into a crowd and they'll all be webbed up. Follow that with a Concussion Blast and you'll send them all flying backwards, webbing them to walls for instant KOs. There's no quicker way to clear out a large room full of goons. This combo is somewhat less effective against Sable agents, who will be immune to being webbed if they have web-proof armor. However, the Concussion Blasts will still destroy their armor, so they will be weakened when they make their way back to the fight. It is ineffective against the chain gun brutes that show up in the DLC, as they are effectively immune to both webs and the Concussion Blast knockback effect. Also, if you didn't realize it, you can switch back and forth between your last two gadgets that you've used by double tapping the L1 button, so you don't have to go into the gadget menu to switch between the two gadgets.
The boss wants his head on a wall.
Was there supposed to be a password to get in here? Was it Hammerhead? I bet it was.
Number 2. Web Bomb, Web Striker, and Chain Finisher. This amazing combo relies on having a good understanding of the game mechanics, but the actual execution requires very little skill. Every time you do a finishing move, you are guaranteed to get a gadget refill. You will get your gadgets back in the order you use them. So if you use a Web Bomb, then an Impact Web, then another Web Bomb, and then use two finishers, you'll get a Web Bomb and then an Impact Web back. Your next finisher will give you the final Web Bomb. With the Web Striker Suit mod, enemies that are webbed up will give you a lot of focus. With Chain Finisher, you get two finishing moves for a single bar of focus. That means you can toss out two Web Bombs and get bonus focus for both of them. If there are at least two enemies on the screen, you are guaranteed to be able to build up a full bar of focus with two Web Bombs. Then you just follow that up with two finishers and you get your Web Bombs back. The point of this technique is not to keep enemies webbed up. That's just a side effect of the Web Bombs. The point of this technique is to build up focus so quickly that you do nothing but finishing moves. You're immune to damage while you're doing finishers, so you don't even need to worry about dodging. The best defense is a good offense. Web Bomb, finisher, finisher, repeat until no more goons. This is not as effective against Sable agents because of their web-proof armor. However, not all agents are wearing web-proof armor. You may be able to build focus on enemies that can be webbed and take out the enemies wearing armor with finishers. Similarly, this doesn't work well against chain gun brutes from the DLC who break out of webs instantly, but the hope is that you'll have enough built-up focus that you can spare a couple of bars for a finisher when you run into these rare and powerful goons. You also need to be aware of other enemies who might be immune to gadgets fired directly at them, such as whip and sword enemies, and the energy shield enemies in the Silver Lining DLC. These enemies can be webbed by a Web Bomb, but not by tossing it directly at them. Aim the bomb at another enemy or at the floor nearby to web these tougher foes with the blast. You can also mix this with a Concussion Blast to take out enemies more quickly, but but I find that sticking to one gadget makes the combo easier to manage and therefore more powerful.
You guys get food
If you're
delivered.
switching back and forth between web bombs and concussion blasts, then you start having to worry about keeping two gadgets full, and you can run into some trouble, unexpectedly losing track of the number of remaining gadgets and getting hit when you find out you don't have the gadget you need to toss. This is better than the web bomb concussion strike combo. Because of its sustainability, you can keep doing this forever and never have to worry about running out of gadgets. This makes almost any fight against normal goons trivial. Of course, you can easily combine this with the Web Blossom combo from earlier, since both combos include the Web Striker. But this combination is just so powerful and easy to manage that adding another focus-building web power is a little bit redundant.
What the? Careful! We're losing guys left and right! Face it!
So what could possibly be more powerful than that? Number 1. Spider drones and quad damage.
Take 'em down
Spider
fast.
drones alone are semi-useful. Toss out all your spider drones and you can take out a small group of enemies. It takes about 8 shots from a spider drone to take down your average enemy. But combine that with the quad damage suitability and each drone will take down a normal enemy in only 2 shots. Spider drones last for 20 seconds when fully upgraded and can fire around 2 shots per second, while the quad damage ability lasts 15 seconds. Just toss out all 4 drones and then use your quad damage ability, and your drones will massacre a whole room full of enemies in seconds, and you don't even have to do anything. What's more, as your drones eliminate enemies, you'll receive gadget refills, allowing you to toss out more drones, making your drone army more and more powerful. After quad damage wears off, you'll still have a large group of powerful drones running around mopping up any survivors. Using this technique, you can guarantee 3 stars on any Taskmaster, Combat, or Stealth challenge. That's right, this technique also works for stealth. Just make sure you're up high enough when you release your drones so that enemies can't see you. They'll be looking at your drones that are slaughtering them and won't have time to look around for the wall crawler who spawned the drones. Your drones will quickly clear the map, leaving you with just a handful of stragglers spread out far enough that you seldom need to worry about being spotted while taking them down. Plus, the drones will take out the enemies so quickly that you'll receive a huge combo point bonus, much higher than would normally be possible.
I think I'll let myself be just a little smug this time.
Combo bonuses in these challenges are given for taking down enemies in quick succession, not for building a large combat combo. Now you might be thinking, if quad damage works this well, why not use the equalizer that allows for one-hit kills on every enemy? While the equalizer suit power does work with drones, allowing them one-hit kills on enemies, it only lasts 5 seconds. Most enemies can be taken out with 2 hits using quad damage, which lasts 15 seconds. So it takes twice the number of attacks, but you get 3 times the duration. So you'll get more bang for your buck with the quad damage than with equalizer. Plus, you don't run the risk of getting yourself a one-hit KO'd if you get sloppy and an attack slips through.
Oh yeah, I'm awesome.
Honorable mention: quad damage and electric webs. This isn't a particularly overpowered combo, but it is kind of cool. So electric webs is the other gadget that actually does damage. Most of your gadgets aren't affected by quad damage because they don't technically do any damage, they just web enemies up. But electric webs do damage. And the quad damage suit power does multiply the damage that the electric webs do. But not only does it multiply that damage, it changes the effect. And it's kind of an interesting and satisfying change. It'll probably take you off guard the first time you use it. Now, while this isn't a particularly useful combination for anything like a base, it is, as you can see, pretty useful for taking out large groups of enemies who are just standing around, like you often find during the random crimes in the game. You can take them all out with just one or two electric whacks.
Muggers, gotta jump
A
in.
single shock status will take out most goons when using quad damage.
And no more muggers. Ah, I love a happy ending.
So that's my list. Which combo is your favorite? Do you know any other powerful combos that I missed? Let me know in the comments. Keep an eye out for my next video where I will straight up teach you how to cheat at Spider-Man.